Good morning, dear ones, and welcome to Unity Church. A very special welcome to those of you who are visiting with us today. This morning we tune in from our singular rooms to join together in worship. Welcome to this time we set aside each week to help us find and keep our balance, to think about those things that matter most, to root out racism in the world and in ourselves, and to align our lives to integrity, service, and joy. Here in the sanctuary, your worship leaders gather, taking appropriate precautions, learning as we lead, to offer clarity, comfort, and inspiration in these trying times. We know that nothing can replace the face-to-face, hand-in-hand voices raised in song embodied worship brings. We also know that the ministry we share has never been about a building. This church is not closed. After the service, whether this is your first time with us or your 1,001st time, you're invited to participate in a virtual coffee hour on Zoom, where we share a bit of our lives with each other and get to know one another more deeply. Stay for a few minutes just to say hi, or stay up to 45 minutes to connect in smaller breakout rooms. Information about how to participate is available on Unity's homepage, and the link to coffee hour will be shared at the end of this service. If you'd like to learn more about Unity Church and Unitarian Universalism, we invite you to participate in Finding Yourself at Unity today at 1 p.m. The topic of today's one-hour online gathering is Worship and the Liturgical Year. Laura Park will be coordinating the event, and I will be offering some information. Information about how to connect with the class is available on our homepage. After the service today, Lisa Friedman has graciously agreed to linger outside the main entrance from about 11:15 to 12:30. So those who wish to mark the occasion of the end of her ministry at Unity Church in person may stop by to wish her well. Please plan to mask and to maintain physical distance. We would love to see you, and I know it would mean a great deal to Lisa to be able to greet you in person. Next Sunday, during a service entitled Voices from the Fire, Worship Associate Kevin Harris will join me for a service celebrating the organizational creativity born of a need for lasting change. In the coming days and weeks, we will continue to find new ways to come together for worship, for learning, for deep connection, for justice, and for love. Welcome, and stay tuned. The call of the bell awakens old longing. Shall we give it a name? Call it friendship. For this is a place we meet with a particular intention to connect in ways that nourish and inspire. Call it covenant. We long for promises bold enough to call us to task and people brave enough to try to keep those promises. Call that old longing Holy One. Let every new name we encounter invite us into deeper friendship. Let every new name we taste take form as promises to keep. And let us all rejoice that the holy is made new each time we gather. Come then, let us worship together.
Broken your vows 1,000 times. You've 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 broken your vows 1,000 times.
And will you stay standing in body or in spirit and recite with me in unison these words from the Reverend Gordon McKeeman. Ministry is all we do together. Ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity, beckons forth hidden possibilities, invites us into deeper, more constant, reverent relationships, and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry is what we all do together. Please be seated. Let us enter into a time of silence, a time to prepare our hearts and open our minds for worship.
Each time we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Together we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. We stand at the side of parents and teachers, and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, with those who live with grief or chronic pain, with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental disability and addiction. We pray for our neighbors in prison, those who care for family members in ill health, those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty. and our lives are blessed by those who knowingly and with curiosity and courage face their final days, and by those who rise above heartbreak to challenge oppression in all its many forms. We pray for those in harm's way, for the wisdom and strength of the leaders of the world and the people of this courageous congregation, as together we live into our longing to embody and help build the beloved community. Will you pray with me now for all these we name? We hold Beth Peterson close to our hearts. Beth's sister, Joan Riedel, passed away peacefully on June 24th. She died at home surrounded by her beloved husband of 47 years, her daughter, son-in-law, and 8-year-old granddaughter. She was 14 years older than Beth and a great mentor to her. John Sherman is at home recovering from a hip replacement. Phyllis reports that healing is going well. He's walking a little farther each day and working to shake off the anesthesia. Hope Barker had surgery this past Wednesday to repair a badly broken ankle. It will be 10 weeks before she will be able to put weight on it. A long, slow recovery is in the offing. It is a good thing that her husband, Dan Hilster, is a loving, attentive caregiver, gardener, and cook. We hold our dear friends and colleagues at First Universalist Church in Minneapolis, and especially the Reverend Ruth McKenzie, who this morning is marking her retirement in a very special service that honors her ministry and reaffirms the life of the congregation. We look forward to welcoming Ruth back into the life of Unity Church. And lastly, this Pride Sunday, 50 years since Stonewall, we look back amazed and grateful at the march of human liberation and the many ways that gay communities have led the way. We know threats still loom large, vigilance remains essential, and that step by step, the longest march can yet be won. Friends, there is no them out there, no other people's children. We learn a little more each day. We have come so far, and we will not turn back. May we stand in compassionate solidarity with our neighbors here at home and all around the world. May they and may we be instruments of a lasting peace. I invite you now to speak aloud or hold in the silent sanctuary of your hearts the names of those you would like to lift up today in worship. Susan Smith. And will you pray with me? Spirit of life and love, God of our hearts, mystery beyond all naming. So much is changing in our world. So much is changing in our cities. So much is changing in our lives. Help us to be present to these swirling days, to find our center in the midst of it all, to speak our truth, to ground our love, to claim our connection, to renew our strength for the journey. May our hearts find courage to embrace it all, fear and pain, sorrow and joy, hope and compassion, that our humanity may be whole. May our minds find clarity to sort through the chaos, the clamor and distractions, doubt and confusion, the choices and the discernment, that our lives may stay true to a just and fair vision. May our souls find meaning in the grace and gratitude of each day, in beauty and companionship, silence and awe, surprise and discovery, that our spirits may yet soar. And may our faith find hope and share it freely, that our ministry may go wherever it is needed. Amen, and blessed be. On this Sunday, my last Sunday with you, Unity Church, it is a special honor and a deep privilege to have the opportunity to formally welcome the new members and their families who have recently joined our congregation since the first of the year. We set aside this time in our worship, this time of recognition and celebration, to honor our newest members, because we know that the act of joining a faith community is a significant milestone on our religious journeys, especially now in this moment. It is an act of courage, of commitment, of hope, and of joy. And yet we know that inscribing your name in a book does not suddenly make you an instant or born-again Unitarian Universalist. Our religious way of life is not so much an arriving as a journey of becoming, an ongoing process of thought and experience. To our newest members today, know that we honor the choice and affirmation you have made to claim this faith as your religious path and this congregation as your spiritual home. And today we offer you our blessings. Our ministry is a shared ministry, and you are now an important part of that ministry, not just today, but in the future. May your deepening relationship with this congregation help you to find new ways to love, new ways to bless the world. But this morning I remind you that you do not embark on this journey alone. This congregation is ready to travel with you, by your side, to grow with you, to seek justice with you, to be a religious community where all can find a home. In making a commitment to this congregation, You remind us that we make a commitment to you in return. To be a part of a religious community is to learn how to give and to receive, how to grow and to be challenged, how to agree and even disagree in love. We are here to help one another live lives of integrity, service, and joy, and to call out the very best in each other. This, my friends, is the commitment that we renew to each other this morning as a whole congregation, as we honor and welcome these wonderful people. Please join me now in welcoming the newest members of Unity Church.
George and Andrea Anastas, Dave Backlund, Samantha Bailey Fast and Carl Fast, Kyle Belmont and Jay Stapp, Claire Cook, Frank Dutke, Kevin Ely, Chris Greasy and Vicky Kappas, Pat Half, Cynthia Harms, Kirsten Jarvis, Brendan McGillicuddy, Mary Ann McLeod, Gail McCahey, Leah Oliver, Jen Prestegard, Michelle Shear, Karen and Nate Solis, Barbara Suvaboda, Jill Thompson, Muffet and John Trout, Rob Wagner and Kathy Trana, Amy Welty,
Spirit of common purpose and shared commitment, I invite us all to join now in the words of Ingathering.
We, the members of Unity Church-Unitarian, welcome you and gratefully acknowledge your choice to join with us in our continuing religious life.
I become a member of this church, aware of the privileges and responsibilities of membership, and with a deep feeling that I have come home this day.
Ours is a faith which reveres the past, envisions the future, and lives with passion in this moment. Even as we honor those who have brought us to this day, so we celebrate your newly found commitment and eagerly anticipate your contributions.
I bring to my new family my talents and enthusiasm, my shortcomings and my doubts. I ask you to invite me into opportunities for service.
Today, we renew our covenant to seek and speak the truth, to love one another without prejudice, and to respond with concerted efforts to the demands of justice.
I share your aspirations, join you in covenant, and hope to build on your example.
Now therefore, united as one family, having affirmed one another in love, let us recite together our historic bond of fellowship.
As those who believe in religion,
as those who believe in freedom, fellowship, and character in religion, as those who believe that the religious life means the thankful, trustful, loyal, and helpful life, and as those who believe that a church is a community of helpers wherein it is made easier to lead such a life, we join ourselves together, name, hand, and heart, as members of Unity Church.
For the children joining us this morning, I want to invite you to come just a little closer at home. Come a little closer to your screen and join me for this story. Once upon a time, there was a great architect. His name was Louis Kahn. And he said something quite curious. The joint is the beginning of ornament. Louis Kahn understood that a building is made up of connections and joints. That was not that different from the joints of the human body, like the hand, the four fingers with 3 joints each, and the thumb with 2 joints, and how the knuckles and the joints, how they make each hand so interesting and beautiful. And just like the human body, Louis Kahn wanted people, especially architects, to pay very close attention to connections, to joints. He wanted to show people the joint that happens when a brick or concrete comes together with glass or with a wooden beam. He wanted people to pay attention to that joint, and he wanted us to celebrate these joints. Kahn understood people, that these joints and connections made people like us wonder about how we can mark that connection, that joint, with something that would draw out the beauty, an ornament. Not like a Christmas decoration, but an ornament that would draw out and enhance the beauty of concrete and glass and wood joining together. Kahn understood something about these joints when he made these beautiful architectural buildings like the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, Texas, or like Yale University's Center for British Art, or like the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla, California, or that big building that houses the Parliament of Bangladesh. He knew that when joints were created, it wasn't just joints from different materials. He knew that there were joints when the vertical wall came together with a horizontal ceiling, and the human desire to beautify it with maybe cornices or crown moldings, or when that vertical wall met the horizontal floor and we want to smooth that joint with baseboards, or when a brightly lit wall suddenly joined with a darkened space, or when a wall that was solid joined with an empty hole that was the doorway. But an empty hole that would just look like an empty hole unless it had a way to beautify it with jambs and a door frame. In all of these masterworks of architecture, Kahn knew that the human desire wanted to mark the joint with greater beauty. And this was not just the case with architecture and buildings. This was especially true in our social relationships. When there's a dinner party and strangers are brought together, the host does their job of introducing strangers to one another and naming people that they might know in common, to smooth and harmonize and to join strangers into friends. Or in the quiet section of the library, when you're not supposed to talk, but you know that you have to ask a really important question, and so you're approaching someone, and you know that you're going to interrupt their work and quiet, and so you you clear your throat before you interrupt and break the quiet. Or when strangers are crossing one another on the street, nodding their head, acknowledging one another, and saying they intend no harm. Like generations ago, when people would tip their hat to harmonize that joint. Like medieval knights who would raise the visor on their helmets, saying no harm would transpire between them. Kant knew that wherever there was a connection, a joint, that the human heart desired to make an ornament, to beautify it. One of the buildings that Kant designed was the first Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York, where our own Reverend Lisa grew up. And all these years of ministry that I will cherish is Reverend Lisa calling each of us to think about all the connections and ways that the church joins with the wider community and the greater world, like Obama School volunteers, like Hallie Q. Brown Food Shelf, where our vegetables from the summer garden go, like the Generosity Ministry team that carefully reviews nonprofit organizations and ways that we can support their work through Sunday after Sunday offerings, like the Racial and Restorative Justice team and their partners like the Circle of Peace. Reverend Lisa asking us to pay close attention because the church is made up of all these connections and joints, these joints that inspire us to mark them with an ornament, to mark them in ways that beautify the design of this world. May that be our work this day and each moment. Amen.
Thank you, KP. Though our ministry now is largely online, the church's financial obligations do continue. Your support of the church is an expression of the promises we make to each other and to the world. We know that some of you have had your hours reduced and that some of you are furloughed or have even lost your jobs. Please let us know if you are facing financial difficulty. We can help. But don't let fear undermine your commitment to the ministry we share. Please do your best to be generous with the church so that the church can in turn maintain our staff and programs and keep our promises to the many community partners our Sunday offerings support. Today we return to an old practice here at Unity Church, which is supporting the development of other Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist congregations. The offering today will support the Mid-America Chalice Lighters Fund. The Chalice Lighters program brings together Unitarian Universalists across the Mid-America region to fund congregational grants for growth and development projects. Since its inception in the 1980s, the program has supported almost 100 congregations. An example of our covenantal faith, it is a powerful way for congregations to support each other. During the offering interlude, please visit Unity's homepage and follow the link to the Sunday service in the Sunday service section to make your donation. You can also use the Give function located in our Shelby Next membership app and online database, or just mail a check to the church. This is a good way to honor Lisa Friedman's deep commitment to our Unitarian Universalist tradition. Thank you for your generous contributions.
When I began my ministry at Unity, in the middle of the 2012 construction project, I thought I was arriving at a particularly busy time in the life of the congregation. But I soon came to learn that Unity's ministry is always in motion. As your minister of congregational and community engagement, I have often described my role as living at the 12 corners of Unity Church, standing in the center of the intersection of every possible road of involvement in the life of the congregation. There, I seek to meet and greet as many travelers as possible, directing traffic with colorful signal flags to more meaningful engagement and connection in the life of our ministry. Social justice ministry is a right turn here. Music ministry directly ahead. UU history is a soft turn, but small group ministry is a sharp left. Not sure which road you need? Try one and see where it leads. Did you lose your way? Not to worry. Come back into the intersection, to the center of possibility, and we can revisit the options and choose again. New roads are always under construction here at Unity, and there are always interesting companions for the journey. I have found that there is no one map that helps everyone navigate the 12 corners of Unity Church. To find our place on it, we have to decide what the religious life is calling us to and how the church might uniquely help. We have to decide if we are looking for a well-paved road or if we are willing to help forge a new, more rugged path that is not yet traveled. Most people do not stay at the 12 corners for very long as they make their choices and meet their companions and travel along their way. But as I have ministered from that place, I have seen both the blessings and the challenges of shared ministry in a large and vibrant and active congregation. This morning, I share some guiding principles that I have discovered to help people find their way. And I charge you to take up some directional flags of your own. The ministry of engagement is a shared ministry, demanding the creativity and commitment of every member. And it is needed now, my friends, more than ever. Shared ministry is born in motion, in those courageous and vulnerable moments when we have the chance to travel together in our journeys of faith. How we meet one another in that intersection, how we help each other decide where to go from there, makes all the difference to the nature of the journey and the community we create along the way. With its strong transcendental roots, Unity has a reputation for being grounded in a deep, enduring sense of the holy, the vertical relationship between us and the sacred, however we name it. It is this congregation's compass, our way of returning to true north. Perhaps because of this, we have not always equally valued or believed in our capacity to nurture the horizontal relationships of the sacred in community. Yet the vertical and the horizontal dimensions of the religious life, where the sacred lives and moves, are not in competition with each other. In fact, they need one another profoundly to thrive. As KP so beautifully reminded us this morning, there is a joint where they meet that is the beginning of ornament, a necessary connection and meeting that allows for beauty, for strength, for blessing. I will always remember a particular moment of this blessing in one of the Finding Yourself at Unity classes for newcomers to Unity. One visitor was courageously sharing that although she loved Unity's worship services, sitting in a sanctuary filled with strangers made her feel even more deeply alone. My mind immediately began thinking of resources that I might rally to help, when the visitor sitting next to her said, "I come to church almost every Sunday. Let's exchange phone numbers. I'd love to attend church with you." There at the 12 corners, I knew that we were growing in our capacity to witness the beauty and worth of the human spirit in one another. We have been challenged to understand exactly what shared ministry means in these weeks of online ministry and social distancing. In the profound disorientation of these days, our spiritual practices have helped us to search anew for our balance. But we have had to find new ways to express the love and support of this community as well. We have had to help each other return to the road and remind us all that being physically alone need not mean that we are isolated from the power of community. Through congregational connectors and the adventures of Zoom rooms, socially distanced driveway visits, and old-fashioned letters and cards, we have tried to reinvent and reconstruct our ministry in motion, to affirm that neither the holy nor the human spirit of life and love are contained in walls. There is no one single story that is true for a person or for a congregation. As you tell your story of who you are and who you are becoming as Unity Church, I charge you to continue to name and explore those places where the vertical and the horizontal meet, so that you will know the blessings of their shared strength. Second, I have found shared ministry is born in embodied hospitality, where being present to the holy invites us to risk new relationships with one another. I remember asking once my predecessor, Leon Dunkley, how coffee hour happened here at Unity. His response was brief but enthusiastic. That's art. And I was confused, imagining articles on the art of making coffee, until I showed up on my first Sunday to discover Art Bergstrom in the duplex kitchen. The answer was indeed Art, who had come early, as he does every Sunday, so that coffee would be ready for anyone who happened to arrive early. But the answer was also the larger art of hospitality we seek to embody, which creates that space for welcome and connection. In the same spirit, our Wellspring Wednesday dinners have never been about the menus, as nourishing and delicious as they are. Ask the cooks, and they will tell you it is about the blessings of preparing a home-cooked meal that offers us a weekly table to which we can bring the fullness of our lives. There is power in the invitation. There is power in the welcome table. But there is even more power when we choose to embody the invitation ourselves, beyond the skill and dedication of our wonderful and dedicated welcome teams and cooking teams and staff. When we choose to embody that invitation ourselves and pass it on, we bear witness to the fact that the ministry of hospitality and connection belongs to us all. Just as our ministry has never been about a building, neither has it been solely about the members who are already here. It hasn't always been easy to push past shyness or discomfort or honest Midwestern reserve. But as I live at the 12 Corners, I have seen you challenge yourselves to show up more fully, more humbly, more openly, because your faith asks you to. Every time I assisted someone in creating a new group or ministry, whether it was the Women in Retirement group or Textile Arts or the new Single Parenthood group, there was always that fear that no one would come. But you prepared the table anyway, and people came. And out of that first act of radical welcome, new ministries were born, and the work of intentional community was underway. You engaged that work in Chalice circles, Dine with 9 meals, end-of-life conversations, sharing the most intimate dimensions of your lives. You said yes to being a mentor to new visitors and members, forging friendships, and engaging activities together. You opened our doors to the neighborhood even wider, to the Obama School teachers and staff, to the congregation of above every name, recognizing that a truly welcoming ministry must lead us into mutual relationship. The call for radical embodied hospitality will take on new meaning and even greater challenge in this online era as people join our worship from across the country and even across oceans. And in the wake of George Floyd's murder, as we are called into new practices of community in the work of collective liberation. I charge you to continue this ministry, to grow in your practice of radical hospitality, and to claim the power you have within you and within this congregation to create ministries of mutual transformation. Finally, shared ministry is born in compassionate action, where prophetic imagination meets our human courage to learn and to change. The work of transformative community and partnership is also at the heart of Unity's community outreach team ministry. I know that I didn't fully appreciate Unity's model of social justice until I had the honor to work directly with the teams. Every team engages themselves and the whole congregation in advocacy, education, service, and spiritual reflection. Every team takes on injustices that may not be fully resolved in our lifetimes, from racial and restorative justice, to climate change, to educational equity, to homelessness, to immigration reform, and more. Every team finds a path to act and to learn, even as they know they do not have all the answers. Now, it is tempting to think that this ministry is about our congregation's beyond work, our work in the wider community. But I have come to understand that there are no clear boundaries between the within, among, and beyond dimensions of our lives. The work of community engagement informs the work of our inner life, how we make sense of who we are and how we will live this faith. It informs our understanding of relationship and partnership, not just how we show up, but how we are willing to follow and listen. I will never forget the time when the Board of Trustees asked our community partners about their understanding of how Unity was able to be in transforming relationship with them. One partner, a longtime partner, trusted us enough to say that they didn't think we were there yet. The team agreed. And in the honest conversation that followed, as we shared our reasons and our hopes and our doubts, we found new ways to work side by side, new ways to be effective in the vision we shared. At the 12 corners of Unity Church and on the roads where our ministry takes us into the wider community, Unity's engagement with social justice offers us a teaching ministry, the work of faith formation, of spiritual practice and personal theology, that place where we can wrestle with the questions of human agency and complicity, of personal and systemic harm and change, of hope and repair and commitment. The murder of George Floyd in our community has called us to engage, to act from our faith with renewed urgency, vigilance, and clarity. We know that we need one another if we are ever going to make progress on dismantling white supremacy. We need learning communities of accountability. We need faithful communities where we can bring our weariness and doubt, our mistakes and fragility, and renew our resolve. I charge you to engage this learning, to find new ways to engage the call to justice and equity as spiritual work, as the work of soul and community together, for it was never ours to do alone. As I prepare to step out of the 12 corners of Unity Church, I knew that would come. I knew the tears would come. But as I prepare to follow a new road to ministry in the Western... I'm going to try that again. As I prepare to step out of the 12 corners of Unity Church and follow a new road to ministry in the western suburbs, I must confess to you, as these tears show, that it doesn't quite seem real yet. It is so hard to say goodbye when you are both here and not here with me. I will miss working alongside you and Unity's amazing staff team and the ministry we do together. For the mistakes that I have made or the hurt that I have caused, I apologize and ask for your forgiveness. Shared ministry makes room for mistakes as well as possibilities, and I hope that I have learned from the ways in which we have embraced them both. No words that I could possibly say to you this morning can fully express my gratitude to you for the joy and the privilege of being one of your ministers. I long to be able to share a goodbye hug, to express my thanks to each of you personally for the moments of ministry and life that we have shared. Know that they will go with me in my heart. Unity's ministry will always be in motion. As you keep your eyes on the true north of your bold ends, and I can't wait to see where you go. As I pass on my flags to Laura Park and Karen Herring, I ask you to welcome them into the shared work of congregational and community engagement with the same openness and support that you have welcomed me. It is your ministry to grow and to share. Wherever the holy beyond us meets the sacred within us, there is an ornament that is the beginning of beauty and blessing. At a recent Finding Yourself at Unity class on Zoom, one of the participants lifted up into the screen a large bowl overflowing with fresh strawberries from her garden. As we oohed and awed, her neighbor, the next Zoom window over, asked for a recommendation on where to pick strawberries. The answer came quickly. Where do you live? Phone numbers and addresses were exchanged, and something more than the promise of strawberries was shared. May the ministry we offer each other be blessed, now and always. So may it be. I think I need.
Friends, in honoring Lisa's ministry and in beginning to integrate that beautiful sermon, will you join us in a litany of letting go?
Will you, the people of Unity Church-Unitarian, join me in this litany of letting go?
And will you stand as you are able and read with me? We join you today in the litany of letting go. Yours has been a ministry of devotion to us, to this congregation, and to all that we could be. You have journeyed with us, made our concerns your concerns, and led us, as you were able, into deeper engagement both within and beyond this congregation. We have looked to you for moral leadership, for religious insight and spiritual guidance. You've spoken the truth to us in freedom and love, and have ministered with us alike in our joys and in our sorrows. You have helped us to create meaning in our lives and find ways to bless the world.
You, the members and friends of all ages of this congregation, have journeyed with me, giving me the cooperation of your hearts and hands and your resolute goodwill in the work of beloved community. You have trusted me with your stories, your aspirations, your struggles, and your hope. You have welcomed me into your midst, working side by side as we have sought to live lives of integrity, service, and joy, and to nurture a vibrant, liberal religious congregation. You have taught me much and taught me well.
We recognize that the ministry of this congregation is not held by the ministers alone, but by us all, and is fulfilled not by any one ministry, but by ministers who have come before and ministers who are still to come. Knowing such, we, the members and friends of Unity Church-Unitarian, hereby release you, Lisa, from the obligations of your ministry with us. We send you and your family on your way with blessings. By these words, we end our covenant with you and send you forth to a new ministry. Thank you, Lisa. I've noticed that you took off your stole for some reason.
I was told to do so.
Yes. Well, Wayne, would you come forward, please, and share with Lisa just one of the gifts which are hers to travel with as she takes on the yoke of ministry again in a new place. Will you remember us fondly as we will remember you?
How beautiful. Oh, it's gorgeous. And it has a matching mask.
How perfect. Wayne, we want to acknowledge the many ways in which you have embraced this church and with which Sam and Ben have embraced this church and grown up among us. We will miss you. We'll miss you as a family, and Lisa, we will miss you as a colleague. Though you will remain a colleague, but not in the day-to-day struggle to keep it all in motion. So thank you so much, and bless you in your future ministry.
Thank you.
And let us sing together the closing hymn, Wake Now My Senses.
Be
My friends, ministry is what we do together. Ministry is what you do together. May the work of our hands be blessed. May the courage of our hearts be blessed. May the strength of our faith be blessed. And may that place where the eternal meets the human spirit be a place of ornament and blessing in our lives this day and always. Go in peace. Amen.